How to Attract Abundance. Written and published by Gaslife. Most people have it backwards. They believe that success creates good energy, that abundance flows from perfect strategies, and that feeling wealthy comes after making money. This approach keeps them trapped in a cycle of striving, forcing, and burning out, while the results they desperately want remain just out of reach. The truth is far simpler and infinitely more powerful. Energy precedes outcomes. Your internal state determines your external results, not the other way around. When you understand this fundamental principle and learn to shift your energy first, everything else falls into place with surprising ease. Think about the last time you felt truly confident and clear. Maybe you had just received good news, completed a meaningful project, or spent time in nature. In that elevated state, didn't opportunities seem to appear more readily? Didn't people respond to you differently? Didn't solutions come faster and decisions feel more natural? That wasn't coincidence. You were operating from a different frequency, and that frequency was broadcasting a signal that attracted aligned experiences. 1. Flip the switch. The energy shift that changes everything. This is the energy shift that changes everything. Moving from force to frequency, from pushing to receiving, from scarcity to signal. It's about recognizing that your internal state is not a luxury or an afterthought, but the very foundation upon which all success is built. The process follows a predictable sequence. State leads to story. Story shapes strategy, and strategy produces success. When you start with the right energy, you naturally tell yourself better stories about what's possible. Those empowering narratives inspire wiser strategies, which generate better results, which reinforce the positive state. It becomes an upward spiral of expanding abundance. But when you skip the first step and jump straight to strategy while operating from stress, fear, or desperation, you create the opposite effect. Survival energy generates scarcity stories, which lead to desperate strategies, which produce disappointing results, which confirm your worst fears about yourself and your circumstances. The downward spiral continues until you address the root cause, your energetic state. Most people spend years perfecting their strategies while completely ignoring their state. They optimize their schedules, refine their systems, and accumulate more knowledge, all while operating from the same contracted, anxious, or frustrated energy that created their problems in the first place. It's like trying to tune a radio to a clear station while the antenna is broken. No matter how perfectly you adjust the dial, you'll only get static. Your baseline energy is the antenna. It determines what signals you can receive and what frequencies you broadcast to the world. Before you can attract abundance, you must first become a clear channel for it. This requires what I call a baseline check. Pause right now and notice your current state. What's the quality of your energy? Are you feeling open or contracted? Hopeful or worried? Peaceful or agitated? There's no wrong answer, only honest awareness. This moment of recognition is where transformation begins. Most people operate from what they think is normal, but normal might actually be a chronic state of low-level stress, underlying anxiety, or subtle resentment. They've adapted to these frequencies so completely that they don't realize how much static they're generating. The baseline check reveals the truth about your current signal and gives you the power to consciously shift it. The shift itself is surprisingly simple, though not always easy. It requires replacing force with frequency, which means learning to act from overflow rather than urgency. When you operate from overflow, your actions carry a different quality. They feel more natural, require less effort, and produce better results because they're aligned with abundance rather than scarcity. Force energy feels heavy, urgent, and effortful. It's driven by the fear that there isn't enough time, money, or opportunity to go around. It creates tension in your body, clouds your thinking, and broadcasts a signal of desperation that actually repels the things you want most. People can sense when you're operating from force, even if they can't consciously identify why something feels off about the interaction. Frequency energy feels light, natural, and expansive. It's grounded in the understanding that abundance is your natural state and that opportunities are always flowing toward you. It creates ease in your body, clarity in your mind, and broadcasts a signal of confidence that attracts aligned people and circumstances. Others feel good in your presence because you're not trying to take anything from them or prove anything to yourself. The beautiful thing about this shift is that it doesn't require years of meditation, thousands of dollars in training, or a complete life overhaul. It can happen in a moment, with a single conscious choice to breathe deeply and elevate your thoughts. The key is developing the awareness to notice when you've slipped into force mode and the tools to quickly return to frequency. One of the most effective tools for making this shift is what I call the 3-minute reset. When you notice that your energy has contracted or that you're operating from stress or urgency, simply stop what you're doing and take 3 minutes to breathe, notice, and choose one elevating thought. Start by taking 5 deep breaths, allowing each exhale to release tension from your body. Then, notice what you're feeling without trying to change it. Simply observe your current state with curiosity, rather than judgment. Finally, choose one thought that feels slightly better than where you started. It doesn't have to be a massive leap from despair to joy. Even a small shift from "this is terrible" to "I can handle this," or from "nothing ever works" to "something always works out," is enough to begin changing your frequency. This practice works because it interrupts the unconscious patterns that keep you stuck in force mode and creates space for a more aligned energy to emerge. It's not about positive thinking or pretending everything is perfect. It's about consciously choosing thoughts that support rather than sabotage your success. The energy shift isn't just a nice idea or a spiritual concept. It's a practical tool that produces measurable results in your daily life. When you consistently operate from frequency rather than force, you'll notice that the right people show up at the right time, opportunities present themselves more readily, and obstacles that once seemed insurmountable begin to dissolve. This happens because you're no longer working against the natural flow of abundance. Instead of swimming upstream, you're floating downstream with the current. The effort decreases while the results increase, creating more space for joy, creativity, and meaningful contribution. The energy shift that changes everything isn't a one-time event, but a moment-by-moment choice to return to your natural state of abundance. Every time you choose frequency over force, signal over static, you're strengthening your capacity to receive the good that's already flowing toward you, too. Frequency first. How to tune your state before strategy. Most people have it backwards. They wake up, check their phone, see something that triggers them, and then try to bulldoze through their day with willpower. They wonder why their decisions feel forced, why opportunities seem to slip away, and why their best-laid plans keep falling flat. The missing piece isn't more strategy, it's understanding that your internal frequency determines what you can see, receive, and create. Think of frequency like a radio dial. When you're tuned to 95.5, you can't receive the signal. Broadcasting on 102.3. No matter how loud it's playing, your emotional and energetic state works the same way. When you're broadcasting from anxiety, scarcity, or urgency, you literally cannot perceive the opportunities, ideas, and connections available on the abundance frequency. This is why the order of operations matters. Regulate your nervous system first, then resonate with what you want to create, and only then take action. Most people skip straight to action while broadcasting chaos, then wonder why their efforts feel exhausting and their results stay mediocre. Your state is not just how you feel, it's the lens through which you perceive reality. When you're stressed, your brain's threat detection system scans for problems and finds them everywhere. You'll notice what's wrong with every idea, why something won't work, and all the reasons to worry. This isn't pessimism, it's biology. Your nervous system is doing its job of keeping you safe, but safety and abundance operate on different frequencies. When you first regulate your system back to calm, something remarkable happens. Your prefrontal cortex comes back online, giving you access to creativity, pattern recognition, and long-term thinking. You start noticing solutions instead of just problems. Conversations flow differently. People respond to you with more openness. Timing seems to improve. It's not magic, you're simply operating from a state that allows you to perceive and act on information that was always there. This is why mood rules math. Your emotional state doesn't just influence how you feel about your decisions. It literally changes which options you can see and how you weigh them. Research shows that positive emotions broaden your perception and help you notice more possibilities, while negative emotions narrow your focus to immediate threats and problems. When you're in a contracted state, worried, frustrated, or overwhelmed, you make decisions from scarcity. You'll take the first option. That feels safe rather than waiting for the right one. You'll say yes to things that drain you because you're afraid better won't come along. You'll negotiate from fear, communicate from defense, and miss the subtle cues that guide you toward what you actually want. But when you're in an expanded state, calm, curious, or appreciative, you make decisions from abundance. You can sense whether something is truly aligned or just disguised urgency. You notice when to wait, when to move, and when to pivot. You attract different opportunities because you're literally broadcasting a different signal. The beautiful thing about frequency is that it can shift quickly. You don't need months of therapy or years of meditation to change your state. You need awareness of where you are, tools to shift deliberately, and the wisdom to tune yourself before you tune into your day. Micro-priming rituals are small practices that reset your frequency in seconds or minutes. They work because your nervous system responds to consistent signals. When you breathe deeply, your vagus nerve communicates safety to your brain. When you stand taller, your posture sends confidence, signals that your mind believes. When you choose one elevated thought, you redirect your attention away from problems and toward possibilities. The key is making these shifts before you need them, not after you're already spinning. This is the difference between prevention and damage control. Instead of trying to course correct from anxiety, you prime yourself for clarity before you engage with your day. Consider the difference between checking your phone first thing in the morning versus taking 2 minutes to breathe and set an intention. In the first scenario, you're letting external information determine your frequency. Your day begins reactive, scattered, and shaped by whatever grabbed your attention. In the second, you're choosing your starting frequency deliberately. You begin grounded, focused, and aligned with what matters to you. This principle applies to every transition in your day. Before you make an important call, check your frequency. Before you walk into a meeting, tune your state. Before you sit down to work on something that matters, make sure you're broadcasting from the right channel. These micro moments of regulation compound into dramatically different outcomes. Your frequency also affects everyone around you. Emotions are contagious, and people unconsciously mirror the energy you bring to interactions. When you show up regulated and grounded, others tend to match that frequency. Conversations become more collaborative. People are more likely to say yes to your requests. Conflicts de-escalate more quickly. You're not manipulating anyone. You're creating a container for better outcomes. This is especially important when you're asking for something, whether it's a favor, a sale, or support for an idea. The energy behind your request matters more than the words you use. When you ask from desperation, people feel the pressure and want to escape. When you ask from genuine curiosity and care, people want to help. The rhythm of regulate, resonate, then act becomes a way of moving through the world that feels both more effective and more effortless. You stop forcing outcomes and start allowing them. You stop pushing against resistance and start flowing around obstacles. You stop exhausting yourself with urgency and start trusting your timing. This doesn't mean becoming passive or losing your edge. Regulated energy is not flat energy. Think of a master craftsperson at work, completely focused but not tight. Engaged but not anxious. Confident but not arrogant. This is the frequency of someone who trusts both their capability and their capacity to handle whatever emerges. The practice is simple, but requires consistency. Before any important moment, take 90 seconds to check your frequency. Notice what you're broadcasting. If it's not aligned with what you want to create, shift it. Use your breath, your posture, and your attention to tune yourself to the channel where your best outcomes live. Remember, this isn't about perfection or maintaining some artificial high all the time. Life includes stress, disappointment, and challenges. The skill is noticing when you've been knocked off frequency and knowing how to return to your center quickly. The faster you can course correct, the the more time you spend in the state where abundance flows naturally. Your frequency is your responsibility and your power. No one else can tune it for you, and no external circumstance has to determine it. When you truly understand this, you realize you're never actually stuck, you're just broadcasting from the wrong station. 3. From scarcity to signal, rewiring the abundance mindset. The voice in your head right now might be saying something like this: "There's not enough time to read this whole chapter," or "I should already know this stuff by now," or "What if this doesn't work for me either?" That voice is not your intuition speaking. It's your scarcity programming running its familiar script, and it's been shaping your reality far longer than you realize. Scarcity thinking operates like background music in a restaurant. You don't consciously notice it most of the time, but it's influencing your mood, your pace, and your choices throughout the entire experience. The difference is that scarcity's soundtrack has been playing in your mind for years, maybe decades, and it's been directing the movie of your life from behind the scenes. Every time you think, "I can't afford that," you're not just making a financial assessment, you're reinforcing a neural pathway that says resources are limited and you don't have access to them. When you say, "I don't have time," you're not just managing your schedule. You're strengthening the belief that life is happening to you rather than through you. These aren't just thoughts passing through your awareness. They're instructions you're giving your brain about what to look for, what to expect, and what's possible for someone like you. The fascinating thing about scarcity scripts is how reasonable they sound. They masquerade as practical wisdom, responsible planning, or realistic expectations. "I need to be careful with money" sounds mature and sensible. "Good things don't last" feels like you're protecting yourself from disappointment. "I have to work harder than everyone else" seems like strong work ethic. But underneath each of these seemingly rational thoughts is a core assumption that the universe is fundamentally lacking, competitive, and untrustworthy. Your brain didn't develop these patterns to sabotage you. Quite the opposite. These scripts evolved as protection mechanisms, designed to help you survive in a world where resources genuinely were scarce and threats were real. The problem is that your ancient brain hasn't updated its software to match your current reality. It's still scanning for saber-toothed tigers and winter famines, interpreting a delayed email response as social rejection and a temporary financial setback as evidence that you'll end up homeless. The shift from scarcity to abundance isn't about positive thinking or pretending problems don't exist. It's about changing the fundamental question you ask when challenges arise. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" or "How do I make this stop?" you begin asking, "What is this trying to bring me?" This question transforms every obstacle from a roadblock into a redirect, every setback from evidence of your limitations into information about your next expansion. When you ask, "What is this trying to bring me?" something remarkable happens in your nervous system. Your brain shifts from defense mode to discovery mode. Instead of narrowing your focus to identify threats and problems, your awareness expands to recognize possibilities and connections you couldn't see before. The same situation that was causing anxiety moments earlier becomes a puzzle to solve, a gift to unwrap, or a door to walk through. This isn't magical thinking. This is practical neuroscience. Your reticular activating system, the network of neurons responsible for filtering information and determining what deserves your conscious attention, responds to the questions you ask and the beliefs you hold. When you're operating from scarcity, your brain highlights evidence of limitation, competition, and lack. When you shift into abundance thinking, the same brain starts noticing opportunities, resources, and support that were always there but previously invisible to you. The rewiring process happens through repetition, but not the kind of repetition that feels like work. Your brain changes through a simple 3-step pattern that happens naturally every time you catch a scarcity thought in action. First, you notice the old script running. Then, you consciously choose a new thought that feels both better and believable. Finally, you anchor this new thought with a physical sensation or action that helps your body integrate the shift. Let's say you catch yourself thinking, "I'm so behind everyone else." Step 1 is simply noticing this thought without judgment. You don't need to analyze where it came from or beat yourself up for having it. You just observe it the way you might notice a bird flying overhead. Step 2 is choosing a replacement thought that feels more aligned and truthful. Something like, I'm exactly where I need to be to learn what I need to know, or my timing is perfect for my path. The key is finding words that resonate with you personally, not just repeating affirmations that sound good but feel hollow. Step 3 is where the magic happens. You seal this new thought into your system by connecting it to your body. You might take a deep breath, place your hand on your heart, or straighten your posture. You might smile or nod your head. This physical component isn't optional, it's how. You signal to your nervous system that this new thought isn't just a mental exercise but a lived truth you're claiming. The beautiful thing about neuroplasticity is that your brain doesn't distinguish between thoughts you think on purpose and thoughts that just happen to you. Every time you consciously choose an abundant thought over a scarce one, you're literally rewiring your neural networks. You're making the new pathway stronger and the old pathway weaker. With enough repetition, abundance thinking becomes your new default, not because you're forcing it, but because you've practiced it. This practice becomes especially powerful when you apply it to your relationship with money, time, and opportunities. Instead of money is tight, you might shift to money flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. Rather than I don't have time, you could choose I have enough time for what matters most. Instead of, all the good opportunities are taken, you might think, my perfect opportunities are finding me now. The goal isn't to become unrealistic about challenges or ignore practical concerns. Abundance thinking doesn't mean spending money you don't have or ignoring deadlines. It means approaching these realities from a place of resourcefulness rather than resignation, creativity rather than limitation. When you believe that solutions exist and support is available, you show up differently to problems. You ask better questions, notice more options, and take action from possibility rather than desperation. The shift from scarcity to abundance is ultimately a shift in your relationship with life itself. Scarcity treats life like a game where resources are limited and you have to fight for your share. Abundance recognizes life as a collaborative dance, where your success contributes to the success of others, and their wins create more opportunities for everyone. This isn't naive optimism. It's a practical recognition that closed systems create competition while open systems create collaboration. As you practice this new way of thinking, pay attention to how differently you feel in your body. Scarcity thoughts create tension, contraction, and a sense of urgency that feels exhausting even when you're not doing anything physically demanding. Abundance thoughts create expansion, ease, and a sense of flow that energizes you from the inside out. Your body is a reliable feedback system for knowing whether your thoughts are serving your highest good or keeping you stuck in old limitations. The practice is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. Your scarcity scripts have had years or decades to establish themselves, and they won't disappear overnight. But they don't need to disappear completely for you to experience profound shifts in your life. Even catching and redirecting one scarcity thought per day will create noticeable changes in how you feel and what you attract within a few weeks. Remember, you're not trying to eliminate all challenging thoughts or difficult emotions. You're learning to work with your mind as a partner rather than being controlled by it as a victim. Every time you choose an abundant thought over a scarce one, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming and the life you're creating. Try this. For the next 24 hours, become a detective of your own thinking. Every time you notice a thought that begins with, I don't have enough, it's too late, or I can't, pause and ask yourself, what would I think about this situation if I knew everything was working out for my highest good? Then choose one thought that feels both better and believable, and seal it with a deep breath or another physical anchor of your choosing. This simple practice, repeated consistently, will begin rewiring your abundance mindset from the inside out. 4. Energetic hygiene, boundaries, detox, and decluttering. Your energy is your most precious resource, yet most people treat it like an all-you-can-eat buffet that never runs empty. They say yes to everything, keep everything, and wonder why they feel drained, scattered, and stuck. The truth is simple. What you tolerate shapes what you attract. Every cluttered corner, toxic relationship, and boundary violation is quietly broadcasting a signal about your standards and self-worth. Think of energetic hygiene the same way you think of physical hygiene. You wouldn't skip brushing your teeth for weeks or wear the same clothes for months, yet you might carry emotional baggage from years ago, surround yourself with broken objects, or allow people to drain your energy without consequence. This chapter is about cleaning house from the inside out, creating space for abundance to flow freely through your life. Let's start with the physical realm, because it's the most visible and immediate. Look around your living space right now. What do you see? Every item you own requires a small amount of your attention and energy to maintain, organize, and remember. When you're surrounded by clutter, your mind unconsciously processes each object, creating a constant low-level stress that depletes your mental resources. Clutter isn't just about too much stuff. It's a contract with the past, a physical manifestation of decisions you made in different circumstances, often reflecting who you used to be rather than who you're becoming. That stack of magazines you'll never read, the clothes that haven't fit in 3 years, the broken appliances you keep meaning to fix. Each item represents unfinished business that keeps you tethered to old versions of yourself. When you release physical items that no longer serve you, you're making a powerful statement to the universe about your readiness for new experiences and opportunities. You're literally creating space for abundance to enter your life. This isn't about becoming a minimalist or living with empty rooms. It's about surrounding yourself only with items that support your current goals and reflect your desired future. The same principle applies to your digital environment. Your phone, computer, and online spaces are extensions of your consciousness. Every app notification, unread email, and digital file creates a small claim on your attention. When your digital world is chaotic, your mind mirrors that chaos. Clear out old photos that bring up negative memories, unsubscribe from email lists that no longer inspire you, and organize your digital files with the same care you'd give to organizing your thoughts. Notice how your energy shifts when you walk into a clean, organized space versus a cluttered, chaotic one. The clean space allows your mind to rest and your creativity to flow, while the cluttered space creates subtle tension and mental fatigue. Your digital spaces work the same way. A clean desktop and organized email inbox create psychological clarity that translates into better decision-making and increased productivity. But perhaps the most important area of energetic hygiene involves your relationships and social environment. The people you spend time with have a profound impact on your energy, thoughts, and possibilities. You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with, not just in terms of habits and attitudes, but in terms of what you believe is possible for your life. Take an honest inventory of your relationships. Which people leave you feeling energized, inspired, and expanded? Which ones drain your energy, create drama, or consistently focus on problems without seeking solutions? This doesn't mean everyone in your life needs to be perpetually positive, but there's a difference between someone going through a difficult time and someone who has made complaining and negativity their identity. Setting boundaries isn't about rejecting people or being selfish. It's about protecting your energy so you can show up as your best self for the people and activities that truly matter. When you say no to requests that don't align with your values or goals, you're saying yes to opportunities that do. Every boundary you set is an act of self-respect that teaches others how to treat you. Boundaries can be as simple as not answering work calls after a certain time, or as complex as reducing contact with family members who consistently undermine your confidence. The key is to approach boundaries with clarity rather than anger. You're not punishing anyone. You're simply making conscious choices about how to spend your most valuable resource, your time and attention. Consider also the information and media you consume. Just as you can catch someone's mood in person, you can absorb the emotional tone of the books, shows, news, and conversations you expose yourself to regularly. If you're constantly consuming stories about scarcity, conflict, and limitation, these narratives start to feel like reality rather than one possible perspective among many. This doesn't mean you should avoid all challenging or serious content, but rather that you should be intentional about the mental diet you're feeding yourself. Choose information sources that inform without overwhelming. entertainment that uplifts without numbing, and conversations that challenge you to grow rather than keeping you stuck in old patterns. Your physical environment also includes your body, which serves as the container for all your experiences. Energetic hygiene extends to how you nourish, move, and rest your physical form. When you eat foods that make you feel sluggish, skip exercise that would energize you, or consistently shortchange yourself on sleep, you're creating internal clutter that affects every other area of your life. You don't need to become a health fanatic, but you do need to treat your body as the valuable asset it is. Small improvements in how you care for your physical self create ripple effects throughout your entire experience. More energy in your body means more clarity in your thinking, more resilience in your emotions, and more capacity to take action toward your goals. The practice of energetic hygiene is ongoing, not a one-time event. Just as dust accumulates naturally and requires regular cleaning, energy drains and distractions accumulate in your life and require regular clearing. This is why successful people often have routines for reviewing and pruning their commitments, possessions, and relationships on a regular basis. Start small and build momentum. Choose one area that feels most urgent. Perhaps it's your bedroom, your phone, or your evening routine, and focus on clearing that space completely before moving to the next area. The goal isn't perfection. It's conscious choice. Every item you keep, every person you spend time with, and every commitment you make should be a deliberate decision that supports who you're becoming. As you practice energetic hygiene, you'll start to notice that abundance flows more easily into clean, organized spaces. Opportunities become more visible when your mind isn't cluttered with distractions. Relationships improve when you're not tolerating behavior that drains your energy. Your intuition becomes clearer when you're not overwhelmed by too many inputs competing for your attention. Try this. Choose 27 items to release from your life over the next week. This can include physical objects, digital files, commitments, or habits that no longer serve you. Notice how your energy shifts as you create space for new experiences to enter. 5. Somatic wealth. Regulating your nervous system for receiving your body is the gateway to abundance. Yet most people try to think their way to wealth while their nervous system screams danger. You cannot receive what you desire when your body believes it is under threat. This is not metaphysical theory, this is biological reality. When your nervous system operates in survival mode, your brain literally cannot perceive opportunities. Your creativity shuts down, and your decision-making becomes reactive rather than receptive. The autonomic nervous system has two primary states: sympathetic activation, which mobilizes you for action or defense, and parasympathetic activation, which allows for rest, repair, and receiving. Most people live in chronic sympathetic overdrive, mistaking anxiety for motivation and stress for productivity. They push harder when they should soften, force when they should flow, and wonder why abundance feels so elusive despite their relentless effort. Somatic wealth begins with understanding that your body keeps the score of every financial fear, every rejection, every moment you felt unsafe in the world. These experiences create patterns of tension, shallow breathing, and hypervigilance that become your default operating system. You might consciously desire more money, better relationships, or greater opportunities. But if your nervous system associates expansion with danger, it will sabotage your efforts every time. The vagus nerve is the superhighway of your parasympathetic nervous system, running from your brainstem to your major organs. When this nerve is well-toned and functioning optimally, you experience what researchers call vagal tone, a state of calm alertness where you can think clearly, respond rather than react, and remain open to receiving. Poor vagal tone shows up as difficulty sleeping, digestive issues, emotional volatility, and the inability to feel safe even when circumstances are objectively fine. Most people have been conditioned to believe that relaxation is lazy and that constant doing is the path to having more. This cultural programming creates a nervous system that associates stillness with stagnation and peace with missing out. The truth is exactly the opposite. The most abundant people in the world have learned to regulate their nervous systems so effectively that they can remain calm in chaos, make clear decisions under pressure, and stay receptive to opportunities that stressed minds cannot even perceive. Your nervous system responds to sensation, not logic. You cannot think your way out of dysregulation, but you can breathe your way out, move your way out, and feel your way out. Simple somatic practices create immediate shifts in your physiology that translate into tangible changes in your experience. When you regulate your nervous system, you literally change what you notice, how you respond, and what becomes possible. The breath is the most accessible tool for nervous system regulation because it is both automatic and voluntary. Most people breathe shallowly into their chest, which signals danger to the nervous system and maintains a state of low-level stress. Deep diaphragmatic breathing activates the vagus nerve and communicates safety to every cell in your body. The 4x4x8 breath pattern is particularly effective. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 8 counts. The extended exhale is crucial because it activates the parasympathetic response and tells your system that it is safe to relax. Anxiety often feels overwhelming because people try to think their way out of a somatic experience. Anxiety is energy moving through your body, and when you learn to map these sensations without judgment, you can transform nervous energy into focused action. Instead of asking, "Why am I anxious?" ask, "Where do I feel this in my body?" Notice the temperature, texture, and movement of the sensation. Breathe into that area with curiosity rather than resistance. Often, what we label as anxiety is actually excitement or activation that we have learned to fear. Your body has an innate wisdom about what is safe and what is beneficial. Learning to listen to these subtle signals develops your capacity for discernment and intuitive decision-making. That tightness in your chest when someone makes an offer might be your body's way of saying, "This is not aligned." The expansion you feel when considering a new opportunity might be your nervous system recognizing something truly beneficial. Most people override these signals with mental analysis, missing the intelligence that their body freely provides. Trauma is not just dramatic events, it includes all the moments when your nervous system was activated without the opportunity to complete the stress cycle. Maybe you learned to smile when you were angry, to be quiet when you wanted to speak, or to stay when you wanted to leave. These incomplete responses create patterns of holding that affect your capacity to receive. Gentle movement, vocalization, and allowing natural responses helps your nervous system complete these old cycles and return to its natural state of flow. The modern world provides constant stimulation that keeps most nervous systems chronically activated. Bright lights, loud noises, rushed schedules, and information overload create a state of perpetual stress that we mistake for normal living. Creating environments that support nervous system regulation is not luxury, it is essential for accessing your full, creative, and receptive capacity. This might mean dimming lights in the evening, spending time in nature, listening to calming music, or simply moving more slowly through your daily activities. Sleep is when your nervous system processes and integrates the day's experiences. Poor sleep quality creates a cascade of stress hormones that make everything feel harder and less possible. Protecting your sleep means protecting your capacity to receive. Simple practices like avoiding screens before bed, keeping your bedroom cool and dark, and developing a consistent bedtime routine signal safety to your nervous system and improve the quality of your rest. Your nervous system is also shaped by the people you spend time with. Mirror neurons cause you to unconsciously match the energy of those around you. If you regularly interact with chronically stressed, anxious, or dysregulated people, your own system will adapt to match that frequency. This does not mean avoiding all stressed people, but it does mean being intentional about who you spend extended time with and learning to maintain your own regulation in challenging interactions. Physical tension stores emotional and energetic information. That chronic shoulder tightness might be holding years of carrying responsibilities that were not yours. The jaw clenching might be all the words you never allowed yourself to speak. The shallow breathing might be the result of making yourself small to avoid conflict. Gentle body work, stretching, or simply placing your hands on areas of tension while breathing deeply can begin to release these patterns and restore natural flow. Boundaries are not walls, they are the container that allows your nervous system to feel safe enough to be open. When you lack clear boundaries, your system remains in a state of hypervigilance, constantly scanning for threats and unable to relax into receptivity. Healthy boundaries allow you to say yes from a place of choice rather than obligation, and no from a place of self-care rather than rejection. This creates the energetic container within which abundance can flourish. The practice begins with simply noticing. Throughout your day, pause and check in with your body. Are you holding your breath? Are your shoulders tight? Is your jaw clenched? These observations without judgment begin to create awareness of your patterns. Once you notice, you can choose differently. Take 3 deep breaths. Roll your shoulders. Soften your face. These micro moments of regulation accumulate into significant shifts in your overall state. Your nervous system learns through experience, not explanation. The more often you practice returning to regulation, the more natural this state becomes. Start with the breath because it is always available. Add gentle movement, vocalization, or simple presence practices. Notice how your thoughts change when your body relaxes. Observe how opportunities appear when you are calm and receptive. This is not about perfection, it is about building the capacity to return to balance more quickly when life inevitably creates activation. Try this simple practice. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 8 counts. Repeat this pattern 4 times while mentally repeating, "I am safe to receive." Then scan your body from head to toe, noticing any areas of tension or sensation without trying to change anything. Simply acknowledge what you notice with kindness and curiosity. This entire practice takes less than 3 minutes, but creates measurable changes in your nervous system and your capacity to receive the abundance that is always flowing toward you. 6. The gratitude flywheel. Multiplying what you appreciate. Most people think gratitude is about being polite to the universe, like sending a thank you note to existence for not making things worse. They practice gratitude the way they eat vegetables because someone told them it's good for them, not because they actually understand what it does. This lukewarm approach turns one of the most powerful abundance tools into spiritual busywork. Real gratitude isn't about feeling thankful. It's about training your brain to hunt for evidence of abundance until that becomes your default setting. When you understand gratitude as a focusing system rather than a feeling system, everything changes. You stop waiting to feel grateful and start using appreciation as a deliberate practice to reshape what you notice, which reshapes what you experience, which reshapes what comes next. Your brain has a built-in filter called the reticular activating system that determines what gets through to your conscious awareness. Think of it as a bouncer for your attention. Right now, this bouncer is programmed by your existing beliefs, fears, and expectations. If you believe opportunities are scarce, your mental bouncer will flag scarcity and let problems through while filtering out possibilities. If you believe you're unlucky, your bouncer will highlight every delay, disappointment, and difficulty while barely registering the wins. Gratitude practice reprograms this bouncer. Every time you deliberately notice something good, you're essentially updating your brain's search algorithm. You're teaching your attention to scan for abundance instead of absence. The more you practice this, the more your brain starts serving up evidence that life is working in your favor. This isn't positive thinking or wishful delusion. It's neuroplasticity in action. You're literally rewiring your perception to match the frequency of what you want to attract. The key is specificity. Generic gratitude, "I'm thankful for my family," doesn't create neural change because it doesn't require your brain to focus on details. Specific appreciation. "I'm grateful that my daughter remembered to text me when she got home safe last night, which showed me she cares about my peace of mind even when she's tired," forces your brain to zoom in on evidence of love, consideration, and connection. The more specific you get, the more your brain learns to recognize these patterns elsewhere. This is where the flywheel effect kicks in. A flywheel is a heavy wheel that's hard to get started but becomes nearly unstoppable once it builds momentum. Gratitude works the same way. The first few days of practice feel forced and artificial. You have to hunt for things to appreciate. Your brain resists because it's comfortable with its current filtering system. But somewhere around day 7 or 10, something shifts. You start noticing good things without trying. your brain begins serving up appreciation opportunities throughout the day. The wheel starts spinning on its own. Evidence logs amplify this effect. Instead of just thinking grateful thoughts, you write them down. The act of writing engages different parts of your brain and creates stronger neural pathways. More importantly, you create a physical record of abundance that you can revisit during difficult moments. When your mind starts spinning stories about how nothing ever works out, you have pages of documented evidence to the contrary. The most powerful evidence logs focus on 3 specific categories. First, unexpected gifts, moments when something worked out better than expected, when help appeared without asking, or when timing aligned in your favor. These entries train your brain to notice when life is conspiring to help you rather than hinder you. Second, personal growth wins moments when you handled something better than before, chose courage over comfort, or surprised yourself with your capabilities. These entries build evidence of your expanding capacity. Third, connection moments, times when someone showed up for you, when you felt truly seen and understood, or when you made a positive difference in someone else's experience. These entries reinforce your sense of belonging and impact. But here's where most people stop short. They practice gratitude for what they receive but forget to appreciate what they give. This creates an unconscious imbalance that actually blocks abundance. When you only focus on what comes to you, you position yourself as a recipient rather than a participant in the flow of abundance. You start to feel indebted rather than empowered. True abundance flows in circles, not straight lines. The more you appreciate your own contributions, generosity, and positive impact, the more natural it becomes to receive. Appreciating others multiplies your abundance field exponentially. When you acknowledge someone else's gifts, talents, or contributions, you're not just making them feel good, you're training your brain to recognize those qualities in the world, which makes you magnetic to people who embody them. When you specifically thank someone for their kindness, you become a person who notices kindness, which naturally attracts kind people into your orbit. When you appreciate someone's creativity, you develop an eye for creative solutions, which makes you more resourceful and innovative. The most effective appreciation messages are specific, personal, and focused on impact rather than effort. Instead of, "Thanks for everything you do," try, "Thank you for taking extra time to explain that concept yesterday. Your patience helped me understand something I'd been struggling with for weeks, and now I feel confident moving forward." This level of specificity shows the person exactly how their actions mattered, which makes them more likely to continue that behavior. It also trains your brain to notice the specific ways people add value to your experience. Daily appreciation practice creates what researchers call positive spirals. When you consistently look for evidence of abundance, you start seeing more of it. When you see more of it, you feel more abundant. When you feel more abundant, you make different choices. When you make different choices, you get different results. When you get different results, you have even more evidence of abundance to appreciate. The wheel keeps spinning faster and faster until abundance becomes your baseline rather than your aspiration. The 3 gains practice transforms this concept into daily action. Every evening, you identify 3 specific things that went well, worked out, or exceeded expectations. The key is to focus on gains rather than just positives. A gain implies movement in your desired direction. Maybe you handled a difficult conversation with more grace than usual. Maybe an opportunity appeared at the perfect moment. Maybe you made a decision that felt aligned and empowering. Each gain you identify becomes evidence that you're moving toward your vision rather than away from it. Combine the 3 gains with one specific thank you message, and you create a complete abundance loop. You're appreciating what's working in your own experience while simultaneously adding value to someone else's. You're training your brain to hunt for abundance while contributing to the abundance others experience. You're positioning yourself as both a receiver and a generator of positive energy. This isn't about forcing positivity or ignoring problems. Real gratitude practice actually makes you more discerning because you start to notice the difference between what drains your energy and what multiplies it. You become grateful for challenges that help you grow while losing tolerance for drama that doesn't serve anyone. You appreciate people who elevate your experience while naturally spending less energy on relationships that consistently deplete you. The gratitude flywheel works because it aligns your attention with abundance until that becomes your default frequency. You stop having to convince yourself that good things are possible because you have daily evidence that good things are happening. You stop waiting for external circumstances to make you feel abundant because you've trained your brain to find abundance in what's already here. Most importantly, you become the kind of person who notices, appreciates, and amplifies the good in any situation, which makes you magnetic to more goodness. When gratitude becomes a focusing system rather than a feeling, everything shifts. Your brain starts working for abundance instead of against it. Your attention becomes your ally instead of your obstacle. And your appreciation becomes a multiplier that expands whatever you're already experiencing. This is how you move from hoping for abundance to creating it, one specific acknowledgement at a time. 7. Identity upgrade. Becoming the person abundance finds. The moment you decide to change your life, you face a hidden challenge that no one talks about. Your old identity will fight you every step of the way. It whispers that you're not the kind of person who has money, attracts opportunities, or deserves abundance. This voice isn't trying to hurt you, it's trying to keep you safe by keeping you the same. But here's what most people miss. Abundance doesn't find people who need it. Abundance finds people who are it. Your identity is the silent script running your life. It's the collection of beliefs about who you are, what you're capable of, and what's possible for someone like you. This script determines which opportunities you notice, which actions you take, and which results you accept as normal. When your identity says, "I'm not good with money," you unconsciously prove it right. When your identity says, "I always struggle," you find ways to make that true too. The beautiful news is that identity isn't fixed. It's fluid, moldable, and completely within your power to upgrade. The person who attracts abundance isn't born different, they've simply chosen to see themselves differently. They've made an internal shift that changes everything external. Most people try to change from the outside in. They force new behaviors, chase strategies, and push harder when things don't work. But sustainable change happens from the inside out. When you upgrade your identity first, the behaviors flow naturally. You don't have to remember to act abundant, you simply are abundant, and abundant actions become automatic. Think about someone you admire who seems to effortlessly attract good things. They're not performing abundance, they're expressing it. There's a settled confidence in who they are and what they deserve. They don't chase opportunities because opportunities find them. They don't beg for respect because they respect themselves. They've aligned their inner world with their desired outer world, and that alignment creates magnetic pull. This doesn't mean pretending to be someone you're not. False identity is exhausting and unsustainable. True identity upgrade means remembering who you really are beneath the layers of conditioning, doubt, and old stories. It means reclaiming parts of yourself that got buried under years of playing small. The most powerful tool for identity upgrade is what researchers call the as-if principle. You begin acting as if you already are the person you want to become. This isn't fake it till you make it nonsense. This is recognizing that the person you want to be already exists within you, they just need permission to come forward. Start by getting crystal clear on who this upgraded version of you would be. How would they think about money? How would they handle challenges? How would they treat themselves and others? How would they spend their time? What would they believe about what's possible? Feel into this person not as someone you have to become, but as someone you already are who's been waiting to emerge. The key is to start small with what I call tiny proofs, micro-actions that confirm your new identity. If you want to be someone who's financially abundant, maybe you start by organizing your money with care, investing in a beautiful wallet, or talking about money with respect instead of stress. If you want to be someone who attracts opportunities, maybe you start by saying yes to one invitation that stretches you, or having one conversation you've been avoiding. These tiny proofs might seem insignificant, but they create powerful psychological momentum. Every time you act from your upgraded identity, You're rewiring your brain to see that identity as real. Your subconscious mind starts to believe the evidence of your actions. The gap between who you are and who you're becoming closes with each small choice. Pay attention to your internal dialogue because it reveals your current identity programming. Notice when you say things like, "I'm terrible with money," "I never get chosen," or "things like that don't happen to people like me." These aren't facts, they're identity. Statements that become self-fulfilling prophecies. Start catching these phrases and gently replacing them with upgraded versions. Instead of "I'm bad with money," try "I'm learning to manage money wisely." Instead of "I never get lucky breaks," try "I'm opening myself to new possibilities." Your upgraded identity also needs to feel safe in your nervous system. Sometimes we unconsciously resist abundance because it feels dangerous to our old programming. Maybe you learned that having too much makes you selfish, or that standing out brings unwanted attention, or that success changes people in bad ways. Your nervous system will sabotage your efforts if it believes that becoming abundant threatens your safety or belonging. Spend time reassuring your system that it's safe to upgrade. It's safe to have more. It's safe to be seen. It's safe to succeed. It's safe to outgrow old patterns and relationships that no longer fit. Sometimes the biggest identity upgrade is simply giving yourself permission to change. Notice how different identities feel in your body. When you think, "I struggle with money," where do you feel that in your system? Probably tight, contracted, heavy. When you think, "I'm naturally abundant," how does that land? Likely more open, expansive, energized. Your body is giving you feedback about which identities serve your highest good. Practice stepping into your upgraded identity in low-stakes situations first. If you want to be more confident, practice with the cashier at the store before the big presentation. If you want to be more generous, start with compliments before money. If you want to be more decisive, practice with small choices before life-changing ones. Build your identity upgrade muscles gradually and consistently. Identity upgrade isn't about perfection, it's about direction. You don't have to completely transform overnight. You just need to consistently choose the thoughts, words, and actions that align with who you're becoming. Some days you'll nail it. Other days you'll slip back into old patterns. That's not failure, that's being human. What matters is that you keep choosing to return to your upgraded identity. Your environment will either support or undermine your identity upgrade. Surround yourself with people, places, and things that reflect your new identity rather than your old one. This might mean changing your social circle, upgrading your living space, or consuming different content. Your environment should whisper, "Yes, this is who you are," rather than, "Who do you think you're kidding?" The most profound shifts happen when you realize that your upgraded identity isn't something you're trying to become, it's something you're choosing to remember. The abundant, confident, worthy person you admire is already within you. They always have been. Your job isn't to create them from scratch, but to clear away everything that's been covering them up. For the next 7 days, choose one simple identity statement and one tiny proof to go with it. Maybe it's, "I am the person who handles money with care," paired with checking your account balance daily. Maybe it's, "I am the person who attracts great opportunities," paired with having one meaningful conversation each day. Keep it simple, keep it consistent, and watch how quickly your external world starts to shift to match your internal upgrade. 8. Money is energy. Heal, track, and direct. The flow money carries more emotional weight than almost anything else in our lives, yet we rarely examine why. We've been trained to see money as scarce, complicated, or morally charged. Some people think having too much makes them greedy, while others believe they don't deserve financial ease. These beliefs create energetic blocks that repel the very thing we're trying to attract. The truth is simpler than we've made it. Money is energy in motion. It flows toward clarity, intention, and aligned action. It moves away from confusion, fear, and internal conflict. When you change your relationship with money from emotional drama to energetic partnership, everything shifts. Most people have a twisted relationship with money because they've inherited stories that don't serve them. Maybe you learned that money is the root of all evil, or that rich people are selfish, or that you have to work incredibly hard to earn every dollar. These inherited beliefs run in the background of your mind, creating resistance even when you consciously want more abundance. The first step in healing your money relationship is recognizing these stories without judging them. They made sense for the people who passed them down to you. Your grandparents might have lived through economic hardship that made saving every penny feel like survival. Your parents might have fought about money, teaching you that financial discussions lead to conflict. These patterns aren't your fault, but they are your responsibility to heal. Start by noticing your automatic thoughts when money comes up. Do you tense when you check your account balance? Do you feel guilty when you spend money on something enjoyable? Do you avoid looking at your numbers altogether? These reactions reveal where your energy gets stuck around money. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is moving from money avoidance to money intimacy. Most people relate to their finances the way they relate to a difficult relative they only see at holidays. They check in reluctantly, feel stressed about what they find, and then avoid contact until absolutely necessary. Intimacy with money means regular, calm, curious connection. It means looking at your numbers not as judgment about your worth, but as information about energy flow. When you track your money with the same loving attention you'd give a garden you're tending, you start to see patterns, opportunities, and areas that need care. Tracking isn't about restriction or surveillance. It's about awareness and intention. When you know where your money goes, you can direct it consciously instead of wondering where it went. This consciousness creates a feedback loop that naturally improves your relationship with money. Many people resist tracking because they're afraid of what they'll find. But avoidance never creates abundance. The energy you spend avoiding your financial reality could be redirected toward improving it. When you face your numbers with compassion rather than judgment, you reclaim the power to change them. Think of money as having three main movements: earning, keeping, and circulating. Each movement has its own energy signature, and all three need to be healthy for true abundance to flow. Earning energy is about value creation and exchange. When your earning feels aligned, you're exchanging your gifts for money in a way that serves both you and others. When earning feels forced or desperate, you're likely acting from scarcity rather than overflow. The quality of your earning energy affects not just how much money comes in, but how it feels to receive it. Many people have blocks around earning because they've separated money from meaning. They think they have to choose between doing what they love and making good money. This false choice creates internal conflict that limits both satisfaction and income. When you find ways to earn money that align with your values and strengths, the energy flows more easily. Keeping energy is about boundaries and stewardship. Some people are excellent earners but terrible at keeping money because they haven't learned to honor their own financial boundaries. Others hoard money from fear, which blocks the natural flow that creates more. Healthy keeping energy means saving with intention rather than fear, and spending with awareness rather than impulse. The energy of keeping is also about self-worth. If you don't believe you deserve financial security, you'll unconsciously create situations that prove you right. You might overspend, ignore investment opportunities, or make decisions that keep you financially stressed. Healing your keeping energy often means healing your relationship with having good things. Circulating energy is about generous flow and strategic investment. Money that sits stagnant loses its vitality, but money that moves with intention multiplies. Healthy circulation means spending in ways that add value to your life, investing in your growth, and sharing your abundance in ways that feel authentic to you. Some people struggle with circulation because they confuse being generous with being broke. They give money they don't have or spend impulsively in the name of abundance. True circulation comes from overflow, not emptiness. When you give or invest from a full place rather than a depleted one, the energy feels completely different. Your money habits reveal your deeper beliefs about worth, safety, and trust. If you consistently overspend, you might be trying to fill an emotional void with purchases. If you under-earn, you might believe you don't deserve financial ease. If you avoid dealing with money altogether, you might fear that looking closely will reveal something overwhelming. These patterns aren't character flaws. They're coping strategies that once served a purpose, but now limit your growth. You can appreciate the protection these habits provided, while consciously choosing new ones that serve your current goals. Creating new money habits requires the same principles as any other energy shift. Start small, be consistent, and celebrate progress. Instead of trying to overhaul your entire financial life at once, pick one area to focus on first. Maybe you commit to checking your account balance every morning for a week. Maybe you track your spending for 3 days without trying to change anything. Maybe you set aside 5 minutes each day to appreciate money you've already received. These small actions might seem insignificant, but they're training your nervous system to associate money with calm awareness rather than stress and avoidance. Over time, this shift in your internal state will naturally lead to better external results. The energy you bring to money conversations, decisions, and planning affects the outcomes you create. When you approach money from panic, you make different choices than when you approach it from centered clarity. When you think about money from scarcity, you notice different opportunities than when you think about it from abundance. This doesn't mean you should ignore practical financial concerns or make irresponsible decisions. It means you handle your money matters from the most resourceful state possible. You can be realistic about challenges while maintaining an optimistic orientation toward solutions. Money responds to intention and attention in the same way that plants respond to water and sunlight. When you give your finances conscious, caring attention, they begin to flourish. When you set clear intentions about what you want money to do in your life, it starts moving in those directions. Your 15-minute money date isn't just about reviewing numbers. It's about strengthening your partnership with money as a life force that wants to serve your highest good. As you practice this regular connection, you'll notice that money conversations become easier, financial decisions feel clearer, and opportunities appear more frequently. The shift from seeing money as a source of stress to seeing it as a form of energy you can direct is one of the most liberating changes you can make. Money becomes a tool for creating the life you want rather than a source of limitation or worry. This internal shift changes everything about how money shows up in your external world. Try this. Schedule a 15-minute money date with yourself. Look at your numbers without judgment. Tell yourself one thing you appreciate about your financial journey, and identify one small next step toward your money goals. 9. Aligned action. 1% moves that open 100% doors. There's a difference between being busy and being catalytic. You can spend all day moving and still end up nowhere meaningful. Or you can make one small, aligned move that shifts everything. The secret isn't in doing more, it's in doing what matters from the right energy. Most people approach action backwards. They think bigger effort equals bigger results, so they push harder, work longer, and wonder why they feel stuck despite all the motion. But abundance doesn't respond to force. It responds to frequency first, then aligned action that flows from that elevated state. Think of a master key. It's not bigger or more complex than other keys. It's simply cut with the precise ridges that open multiple locks. Aligned action works the same way. When you move from the right energy with clear intention, small steps create disproportionate results. The challenge is that our culture worships busy. We've been trained to equate effort with worth, hours with value, struggle with significance. But this thinking keeps us trapped in the scarcity loop, always doing more to prove we deserve what we want instead of becoming the person who naturally receives it. Aligned action starts with a fundamental shift in how you choose what to do. Instead of asking, "What should I work on?" ask, "What wants to emerge through me today?" The first question comes from obligation and external pressure. The second comes from inner knowing and authentic desire. When you're aligned, action feels different in your body. There's a sense of rightness, of flow, of being pulled forward rather than pushing uphill. You might still feel nervous or excited, but underneath there's a calm knowing that this is yours to do. This is how you recognize the difference between inspired action and anxious activity. The most powerful actions are often the smallest ones. Making a phone call you've been avoiding, sending an email that's been sitting in your drafts, cleaning off your desk, having a difficult conversation. These don't look impressive from the outside. but they clear energetic blockages that have been stopping everything else from moving forward. This is what I call the minimum viable leap, the smallest step that changes everything. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic transformations. It's about finding the one small action that, when taken consistently, shifts your entire trajectory. Maybe you've been wanting to start a business but feel overwhelmed by all the steps involved. The minimum viable leap isn't writing a business plan or designing a logo. It might be having one conversation about your idea with someone whose opinion you trust, or creating a simple version of your service and offering it to one person. The goal is to take the smallest possible step that moves energy and creates momentum. Here's what happens when you make aligned moves instead of busy moves. Doors start opening in unexpected ways. People show up with exactly what you need. Opportunities appear that weren't there before. Resources become available. This isn't magic, it's the natural result of moving in harmony with your deeper knowing instead of against it. Consistency beats intensity every time. Most people sabotage themselves by trying to do too much too fast. They get excited about a new direction and immediately overwhelm themselves with an impossible schedule. 3 weeks later, they're burned out and back where they started, convinced they don't have what it takes. But abundance doesn't require heroic effort. It requires steady, aligned movement. 15 minutes a day of focused action in the right direction will take you further than sporadic bursts of intense activity. This is momentum math small. Consistent forces compound into significant results over time. The key is choosing actions that feel sustainable and energizing rather than depleting. If thinking about your next step makes you feel heavy or resistant, you're probably forcing something. If thinking about it creates a sense of possibility and forward movement, even if you're nervous, you're likely on the right track. Start by identifying the difference between needle-moving actions and busy work. Needle-moving actions directly advance your most important goals. They might be uncomfortable, but they create genuine progress. Busy work keeps you occupied but doesn't actually move you forward. It's often what we do to avoid the uncomfortable but necessary actions. Reorganizing your files might feel productive, but if what you really need to do is reach out to potential clients, filing is busy work. Reading another book about your goal area might feel educational, but if what you need is to start practicing what you already know, more input is avoidance. The people who attract abundance consistently have learned to distinguish between these two types of action. They ruthlessly prioritize the moves that actually create change, even when those moves feel scary or uncertain. This doesn't mean every action has to be a major breakthrough. Sometimes the most aligned thing to do is rest, reflect, or tend to your foundation. The difference is that these choices come from wisdom rather than procrastination. You're not avoiding what matters, you're creating the conditions for your next right action to emerge clearly. One of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself is, if I could only take one action today that would move me toward what I want, what would it be? Your first answer is usually your body's wisdom speaking. Your second guessing is usually your mind trying to complicate things or avoid discomfort. Trust your first knowing, then act on it before you have time to talk yourself out of it. This doesn't mean being reckless, it means honoring the guidance that comes from your aligned state instead of getting lost in mental loops that drain your energy and confidence. Aligned action often looks different from what others are doing. While everyone else is busy networking at events, your aligned action might be reaching out to one specific person. While others are posting constantly on social platforms, your move might be having deeper conversations with fewer people. While others are launching complicated programs, your path might be simplifying and focusing on one clear offer. There's no one-size-fits-all formula for aligned action, because everyone's path is unique. What matters is learning to recognize when your actions are flowing from your authentic desires versus when they're coming from comparison, pressure, or fear. The universe rewards authentic movement. When you take action from a place of genuine alignment, you tap into a larger intelligence that coordinates circumstances in your favor. People say yes more easily. Resources appear when you need them. Solutions emerge that you couldn't have planned. This is why 1% moves can open 100% doors. When your actions are backed by the right energy and intention, they create ripple effects that extend far beyond what you can see. One conversation leads to an introduction that leads to an opportunity that changes everything. One small service leads to word of mouth that builds your reputation organically. One moment of courage leads to a breakthrough that seemed impossible just weeks before. The practical application is simple but not always easy. Each day, identify one action that feels both important and aligned. Make it small enough that you can't talk yourself out of it. Do it before you do anything else that day. Notice how it feels in your body when you complete it. Let that feeling of accomplishment and alignment fuel your next right choice. Over time, this practice creates a new relationship with action itself. Instead of forcing outcomes through exhausting effort, you learn to dance with life's natural rhythms. You discover that the most powerful thing you can do is show up consistently as your authentic self, taking the next obvious step from a place of trust rather than desperation. 10. Magnetize with service. Value, generosity, reciprocity. There's a secret that successful people understand intuitively, but rarely speak about directly. The fastest way to attract abundance is to become a source of it for others. This isn't about sacrificing yourself or giving until it hurts. It's about recognizing that value creation is the most powerful magnetic force in the universe. When you consistently help others solve problems, reach goals, or feel better about themselves, you position yourself at the center of an ever-expanding web of opportunity and reciprocity. Most people approach giving from a place of obligation or guilt. They write checks to charity because they feel they should, or they help others while secretly keeping score, wondering when they'll get something back. This transactional energy actually repels abundance rather than attracting it. True magnetic service operates from a completely different frequency. It comes from recognizing that you are already abundant, already valuable, and already have something meaningful to offer. From that state of overflow, giving becomes a joy rather than a burden. The key is what we call aligned generosity. This means giving in ways that energize you rather than drain you, sharing gifts that come naturally to you rather than forcing yourself into boxes that don't fit. If you're naturally good at organizing, you might help someone sort through a challenging decision. If you have a gift for listening, you might offer a safe space for someone to process their thoughts. If you understand money well, you might share practical insights that help others manage their finances better. The magic happens when your natural talents meet someone else's genuine need. This alignment matters because when you give from your zone of strength and interest, you're not depleting yourself. Instead, you're actually strengthening those muscles, getting clearer on your value, and building confidence in your ability to make a difference. Each time you help someone using your natural gifts, you're collecting evidence that you matter, that your perspective is valuable, and that you have something unique to contribute to the world. This evidence becomes the foundation of unshakable self-worth, which is magnetic to opportunities and abundance. The transformation happens when you stop thinking of your knowledge and skills as ordinary and start seeing them as the extraordinary gifts they actually are. What feels simple and obvious to you might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to break through a stuck place in their life. That organizing system you take for granted could save someone hours of stress each week. The way you naturally encourage others might be the exact medicine someone needs to take their next brave step. Your ability to explain complex things simply might unlock understanding for someone who's been struggling in confusion. The mistake most people make is thinking they need credentials or permission to help others. They believe they need to be perfect or have everything figured out before they can offer value. This is scarcity thinking in disguise. The truth is that you're always just a few steps ahead of someone in some area of life, and those few steps represent tremendous value to the person behind you on the path. Your struggles and solutions, your experiments and discoveries, your failures and insights are all potential gifts to someone who is facing similar challenges. Smart generosity also means being strategic about where and how you give. This isn't about being calculating or cold, but about maximizing the impact of your efforts. If you love helping people, but you're giving your time and energy to situations where it's not truly appreciated or used well, you're not serving anyone effectively. Your gifts deserve to go where they can create real transformation. This might mean saying yes to mentoring someone who is genuinely committed to growth while saying no to someone who just wants to complain without taking action. One of the most powerful ways to practice aligned generosity is to create what we call value assets. These are simple tools, resources, or pieces of content that help people solve specific problems or achieve particular goals. It might be a checklist that walks someone through a process you've mastered, a template that saves them time and confusion, or a short guide that shares insights you've learned the hard way. The beauty of value assets is that they allow you to help multiple people without multiplying your time investment. You create it once, and it can serve people again and again. When you create something valuable and share it freely, several magical things happen simultaneously. First, you clarify your own thinking by organizing your knowledge into a helpful format. Second, you build evidence of your expertise and generosity. Third, you attract people who resonate with your approach and perspective. Fourth, you create a foundation for deeper relationships with people who find your insights helpful. This is how you become magnetic rather than just busy. The reciprocity piece of this equation often surprises people with how it works. When you give genuinely valuable help without expecting anything specific in return, you create what psychologists call a psychological debt. People naturally want to reciprocate when they receive something meaningful, but the reciprocity rarely comes back from the same person or in the same form. More often, it comes through unexpected channels. Someone you helped 6 months ago mentions your name to someone who has exactly the opportunity you've been looking for. Someone who benefited from your insights thinks of you when they hear about a chance that would be perfect for you. This is the invisible network effect of generous service. The energy of service also shifts something fundamental in how you see yourself and your place in the world. Instead of approaching life from a place of need, you begin to approach it from a place of contribution. Instead of asking what you can get, you start asking what you can give. This shift in orientation changes everything about how you show up, how others respond to you, and what kinds of opportunities flow your way. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel better, who solve their problems, and who contribute to their success. The practice for this week involves creating one simple value asset that showcases your knowledge or skills in a way that helps others. This could be a one-page checklist that walks someone through a process you know well. It might be a simple email template that helps people communicate more effectively about something you understand. It could be a short guide that shares 3 key insights you've learned about a topic that matters to your friends or colleagues. The goal isn't to create something perfect or comprehensive, but to create something genuinely useful that you can share with others. Start by thinking about conversations you've had recently where someone asked for your advice or input. What knowledge do you have that others find valuable? What processes have you developed that make certain tasks easier? What insights have you gained from your experiences that might help others avoid mistakes or achieve better results? Your value asset should address one specific challenge or goal that you can help with based on your actual experience and knowledge. Once you've created your value asset, share it with at least 3 people who might benefit from it. Pay attention to how it feels to offer something helpful without expecting anything in return. Notice how people respond when you lead with value rather than need. Observe how this practice affects your sense of confidence and self-worth. This is the beginning of understanding how service creates magnetism and how generosity generates abundance in ways that trying to grab or force never can. 11. Relationships as riches, networks, mentors, collaboration. Your next level lives in someone else's calendar. This simple truth cuts through every myth about self-made success and solitary achievement. The wealthiest people on the planet understand something fundamental. Abundance flows through relationships, not around them. Every breakthrough you seek, every door you want opened, every opportunity you dream about already exists in the mind, experience, or network of another human being. Yet most people approach relationships from scarcity, not abundance. They network with desperation, take from others without giving, and wonder why doors remain closed. They show up to every conversation asking what they can get instead of what they can give. This energy repels the very people who could change their trajectory overnight. The abundance mindset transforms how you engage with every person in your life. Instead of viewing others as competition or resources to extract from, you see them as collaborators in an infinite game where everyone can win. This shift changes everything about how you show up, what you offer, and what naturally flows back to you. Understanding how to be easy to help unlocks doors you never even knew existed. Most people make themselves difficult to assist by being vague about what they need, unclear about their goals, or demanding too much too soon. They approach successful people with generic requests and wonder why they receive generic responses, or no responses at all. Being easy to help means being specific, prepared, and respectful of others' time and energy. When you reach out to someone, you do your homework first. You understand their work, their values, and their current projects. You ask for something small and specific rather than broad and overwhelming. Instead of saying, "I'd love to pick your brain over coffee," you say, "I'm working on a specific challenge with client retention, and I noticed your approach to customer loyalty in your recent article. Could I ask you one specific question that would take 2 minutes to answer?" This approach respects the other person's expertise while making it easy for them to provide genuine value. It shows you take their knowledge seriously enough to be precise about what you need. Most people will happily answer a thoughtful, specific question, but few have time for vague brain-picking sessions. The energy of your outreach matters as much as the content. When you approach others from a place of genuine curiosity and appreciation rather than need and desperation, people feel the difference. Your frequency communicates before your words do. Someone operating from abundance energy feels safe and expansive to be around. Someone operating from scarcity energy feels draining and needy, no matter how politely they phrase their requests. Finding mentors becomes natural when you stop looking for people to fix your problems and start looking for people whose thinking you want to understand. The best mentorship often happens through observation, modeling, and asking better questions rather than seeking direct advice. You can mentor yourself by studying how successful people think, what they pay attention to, and how they make decisions. Many of your best mentors will never know they're mentoring you. You learn from their books, their interviews, their approaches to challenges. You model their habits and test their strategies in your own life. This kind of mentorship is available to everyone and doesn't require access or permission. It requires only the humility to recognize that others have solved problems you're still working on and the wisdom to learn from their experience. Being a multiplier means amplifying the success and impact of others. When you celebrate someone's wins, share their work with your network, or connect them with opportunities, you become valuable to their success. This positions you as someone worth knowing and supporting in return. Multipliers understand that making others successful is one of the fastest ways to become successful yourself. The practice of multiplication can be as simple as sharing someone's article with a thoughtful comment about why it matters, introducing two people who should know each other, or publicly acknowledging someone's contribution to your growth. These small acts compound over time into a reputation as someone who lifts others up, which naturally attracts people who want to lift you up in return. Collaboration emerges when you shift from thinking about what you can get from others to thinking about what you can create together. This mindset opens possibilities that neither person could achieve alone. Instead of competing for a fixed pie, you explore ways to create a bigger pie that benefits everyone involved. The best collaborations often start with small experiments rather than big commitments. You might share resources, cross-promote each other's work, or combine complementary skills on a single project. These experiments allow you to test compatibility and create value together without massive risk or investment. Your network is your net worth, but not in the transactional way most people think. It's not about collecting contacts or using people for advancement. It's about cultivating genuine relationships where value flows in both directions over time. The strongest networks are built on mutual support, shared values, and reciprocal generosity. Building a valuable network requires patience and consistency. You invest in relationships before you need them, not because you're planning to use people, but because genuine relationships create mutual value over time. You stay in touch with people not just when you need something, but because you care about their success and want to contribute to it. The practice of regular outreach keeps your network alive and growing. This means checking in with people to see how they're doing, sharing resources that might help them, and celebrating their successes. It means being the person who remembers birthdays, acknowledges achievements, and offers support during challenges. Reciprocity doesn't have to be immediate or equivalent to be meaningful. You might help someone solve a problem today and receive an introduction to your next opportunity 6 months later. The value you provide might be different from the value you receive, but both can be significant. Trust in the long-term balance of give and take allows you to be generous without keeping score. Quality matters more than quantity in relationship building. A few deep, genuine relationships will serve you better than hundreds of shallow connections. Focus on people you genuinely enjoy and respect, whose values align with yours, and whose success you want to support regardless of what you might receive in return. Your reputation precedes every new relationship and either opens doors or closes them. Building a reputation as someone who is generous, reliable, and supportive creates opportunities that no amount of strategy or manipulation can manufacture. People want to work with people they trust, enjoy, and respect. The 3-3-3 practice transforms relationship building from overwhelming to manageable. Each week, you send 3 thank you messages to people who have helped or inspired you. You check in with 3 people you haven't spoken to recently to see how they're doing and offer support if needed. You make 3 offers of help, connection, or value to people in your network without asking for anything in return. This practice ensures that you're consistently investing in relationships rather than only reaching out when you need something. It builds your reputation as someone who cares about others' success and stays connected over time. Most importantly, it keeps you in an abundance mindset, where your first thought is what you can give rather than what you can get. The compound effect of consistent relationship investment creates opportunities that feel like luck but are actually the natural result of generous, authentic engagement with others over time. Your next breakthrough is probably one conversation away, and that conversation is more likely to happen when you've spent years being genuinely useful to others. 12. Rituals that stick. Daily practices to keep the channel open. The difference between people who sustain abundance and those who experience it in flashes comes down to one thing: rituals. Not complicated systems or hour-long morning routines, but simple, repeatable practices that keep your energy aligned and your channel open to receive. Think of abundance like a radio station. You can tune in and hear the music clearly, but if you don't maintain your frequency, you drift back to static. Rituals are how you stay tuned to the right station, day after day, without having to start from scratch every morning. The most powerful rituals work because they follow 3 principles. They're triggered by something you already do, they're simple enough to complete even on difficult days, and they include a moment of recognition or celebration that tells your brain this matters. When you design practices around these principles, you create what researchers call habit scaffolding, a structure that supports the behavior until it becomes automatic. Your morning ritual doesn't need to be elaborate. In fact, the simpler it is, the more likely you'll stick with it. The goal is to tune your frequency and make conscious choices before the day makes them for you. A 10-minute practice that you do consistently will transform your life more than an hour-long routine you abandon after a week. Start with what you already do. If you drink coffee or tea every morning, use that first sip as your trigger. Before you pick up your cup, take 3 deep breaths and set an intention for the day. As you drink, think of 3 things you're grateful for. That's it. You've just created a gratitude practice that's anchored to an existing habit. If you prefer something more structured, try this sequence. Breathe, appreciate, choose. Spend 2 minutes doing breath work to regulate your nervous system. Spend 3 minutes appreciating what's already working in your life. Spend 5 minutes choosing your focus and energy for the day ahead. The entire practice takes 10 minutes, but it shifts your baseline before you interact with anyone else or check any messages. The key is to make your ritual sacred time that belongs only to you. This isn't selfish, it's strategic. When you start your day aligned, you make better decisions, respond instead of react, and naturally attract opportunities that match your elevated state. You become a magnet for abundance because you're operating from overflow instead of depletion. Weekly abundance audits help you course correct before small misalignments become major detours. Every 7 days, spend 15 minutes reviewing your energy, actions, and results. Ask yourself 3 questions. Where did I feel most aligned this week? Where did I notice scarcity thinking creeping in? What one adjustment would make the biggest difference next week? This isn't about judgment or perfection. It's about awareness and adjustment. Abundance flows to people who pay attention and make small corrections consistently. When you notice you've been operating from fear or force, you can shift back to frequency without drama or self-criticism. You simply acknowledge what happened and choose differently going forward. Your evening ritual is just as important as your morning practice, but it serves a different purpose. Instead of tuning and choosing, you're integrating and releasing. Spend a few minutes acknowledging what went well during the day. This trains your brain to look for wins instead of problems. Then release anything that didn't serve you. You don't need to carry today's stress into tomorrow's possibilities. A simple evening practice might look like this: 3 deep breaths to transition from doing to being, 3 wins from the day to appreciate, and 3 intentions to release before sleep. You're ending the day with gratitude and starting the next one with a clean slate. Protecting your energy like an asset means being intentional about what you consume and who you spend time with. Your morning ritual creates good energy, but if you immediately drain it by reading negative news or engaging with difficult people, you're working against yourself. Consider creating boundaries around your first and last hours of the day. Use that time to fill your cup instead of emptying it. This doesn't mean avoiding all challenges or living in a bubble. It means being strategic about when and how you engage with draining activities. Handle difficult conversations when your energy is strong, not when you're already depleted. Consume information that serves your growth, not content that feeds your fears. The most successful people understand that energy management is more important than time management. You can have all the hours in the world, but if your energy is scattered or negative, those hours won't produce abundance. When you protect and direct your energy intentionally, you accomplish more in less time and enjoy the process. Rituals are meant to serve you, not become another source of stress. If your morning practice starts feeling like a burden, simplify it. If you miss a day, start again the next day, without guilt. The goal is progress, not perfection. A simple practice done consistently will always beat a complicated system done sporadically. Your abundance practice should feel good. It should leave you feeling more centered, grateful, and clear than when you started. If it doesn't, adjust the elements until it does. Maybe you need more movement, more stillness, more gratitude, or more visioning. Trust your instincts and create a practice that resonates with who you are. As your practice deepens, you'll notice that abundance stops being something you chase and becomes something you embody. You'll make decisions from a place of trust instead of fear. You'll take action from inspiration instead of desperation. You'll receive opportunities because your energy naturally attracts them. This is the real magic of abundance rituals. They don't just change what you do, they change who you are. And when you change who you are at the energetic level, everything else shifts to match that new frequency. Your outer world reorganizes itself around your inner abundance, not through force or manipulation, but through the natural law that like attracts like. The channel is always open. The abundance is always flowing. Your rituals simply ensure that you stay tuned to receive it.